Now live.
We've got Reparations Now, Policy Over Party, and Cut the Check, branded merch and hoodies, hats, and tees, and even V-necks for the ladies.
You can even get a commemorative, one-of-a-kind Cut the Check spatula spreader. The engraved keepsake life knife is guaranteed for a lifetime and can be passed down to future generations. Go to etmmediagroupstore.com.
That's etmmediagroupstore.com. Right now, as always, appreciate you.
Visit ETM Media Group online merch store and cut the check.
The way it currently stands, forced labor, slavery takes precedence over rehabilitation and public safety.
Oh, by the way, while the Biden administration gives reparations to everyone but freed people, look at the billions he has run over to Ukraine.
We don't have black grocery stores because if you think about it now, just to get in that supply chain, it's almost unheard of.
They don't want the truth to get out. Okay? I don't want to know what my family did or what all these people did and all this stuff like that. Okay?
Come on.
You read that 500-page report.
There's this thing called white superiority and black inferiority. That mindset allows all of the behaviors that we've seen across generations.
I had no idea that church I was running by every day was something my grandfather established.
This is not a handout. This is a debt that is owed.
You know, Allensworth was like the internet of his time in 1904, 1905.
The total black population in California is about 2.6 million, and then of that, the descendants compose about 2.2 million of that. So California, with a multi-billion-dollar surplus, can absolutely afford to satisfy the international terms for reparations, beginning with compensation.
Any financial obstacle that exists that impedes the success of increasing financial prosperity needs to be dealt with and eliminated.
No matter where we've been, no matter what part of this fight we've been in, we've been harmed, and we've had harm done to us specifically.
When I got to Los Angeles, this was some of the worst segregation I'd ever seen. And remember, I'm telling you, I'm from Mississippi.
Because as you can see, I'm giving you broken history right now, you know? But I had to give it to you guys today. I said, no, I got to show them this because it's so precious and nobody really knows about it.
Overnight, it's like, oh, it's no longer the quarters, now it's Lincoln Heights. Oh, so now we get to use Abraham Lincoln for our name. And you think about all the other people that they could have used, but they picked Lincoln. And I think that's sort of a stereotypical of what they do.
There wasn't any black restaurants. As far as black business and weed, it wasn't none.
Black people don't have that kind of luxury. Our historically black communities have been redistricted multiple times.
Why has it been easier for other groups than us?
Because of anti-black hatred.
Now listen, if you can't handle the TR room, don't tune in.
All right, so we are back with another edition of In the News. We have an update here on killer cop Kim Porter, the former Minnesota officer who fatally shot Daunte Wright, will be freed on Monday, which is today. Minneapolis. A white former police officer convicted of manslaughter after mistaking her handgun for a taser and fatally shooting black motorist Daunte Wright in suburban Minneapolis in 2021 is set to be released from prison Monday. Minnesota Department of Corrections spokesman Andy Skoogman announced Friday that former officer Kim Porter was to be released after serving about 16 months of her 2-year sentence. He said the exact timing of her departure Monday from Minnesota Correctional Facility Sankopi won't be disclosed for security reasons. Quote, our criminal investigative analysts are working closely with law enforcement to monitor the situation to ensure Kim Porter, like all incarcerated persons, is safe to leave our facility, end quote, Skoogman said in a statement. The shooting happened April 2021 as Derek Chauvin was on trial in Minneapolis on murder charges in George Floyd's killing. Wright's death sparked several days of protests. Judge Regina Chu had said that at Porter's sentencing that she would be required to serve 2/3 of her sentence, 16 months, then spend the rest on probation. Potter, now 50, appears much thinner in a new photo released by the Department of Corrections. Her attorney, Earl Gray, said he had no idea why her appearance changed. So, I didn't download the video on this because I didn't want to relive the trauma, but this was the one where it was a traffic stop, and this Kim Porter pulls out her well, she has her gun, but she's screaming, taser, 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 and then she shoots him as if she didn't know the difference between a taser and a firearm.
Well, may Dante Wright rest in peace, man. Rest in power.
Rest in power.
So speaking of shooting, South Africa shooting leaves 10 family members dead. 10 members of the same family have been shot dead in an attack on their home in South Africa, police say. Seven females and 3 females were killed when their home near the city of Pietermaritzburg was ambushed early on Friday morning. Police Minister Becky Cele said 2 suspects had been arrested. One was shot dead and another is still at large. The motive is unclear. South Africa has one of the world's highest murder rates. Police were first alerted to the shooting after neighbors heard gunshots. Mr. Cele said one of the victims was as young as 13, adding, it's a crime scene terrible. Too many people were lost here. They have arrested 2 people. One was injured, one was dead, one ran away, and 3 firearms were recovered. He told reporters at the scene of the shooting in the township of Mbali in eastern KwaZulu Natal province. 1 child has reportedly been taken to hospital. According to local media, the gunmen managed to gain entry to the property after posing as police officers. Mr. Cele confirmed they had located the suspects at the house of a traditional healer, where they had sought refuge. Police said one of the suspects, the man who was shot dead, had been on their wanted list for a long time. This part of South Africa is known for featuring regularly in national crime stats for murder rates, a problem that has plagued it for a long time. It's the second mass shooting of KwaZulu-Natal province this week after 4 people were shot and killed on Thursday at another home north of the port city of Durban. In January, 8 people were shot dead at a birthday party in Jerbaha City in Eastern Cape Province. It followed a string of gun attacks in bars last year, with at least 15 killed and 1 shooting alone.
Yeah, terrible, terrible tragedies here. Did they mention a motive for these killings at all, or did I miss something?
Well, for right now, it looks like, according to the article, the motive is unclear. So yeah, no.
Senseless. Ashe to those lives.
Absolutely.
Cut short. And we also have an update in the Ralph Yarl case. Grandson of man who shot Ralph Yarl says fear and conspiracies consume him. One of the grandchildren of Andrew Lester, the Kansas City homeowner who shot Ralph Yarl after the black teenager had mistakenly gone to the wrong home, believes police should have acted sooner to arrest his grandfather, who he said has been overtaken by conspiracy theories in recent years. Ludwig said he never really knew what his grandfather's social and political views were when he was younger, but said Lester had become consumed with watching conservative news outlets and following conspiracy theories built on misinformation. Quote, his actions are his responsibility, and falling into the fear and paranoia stoked by the 24-hour news cycle and wild conspiracies did not help his mental state, end quote, Ludwig said. Quote, Ralph deserves justice regardless of my relationship with the shooter, end quote. Ludwig said, quote, Black Lives Matter always, end quote. And I think we have a video to go along with this story.
What was your reaction when you heard that your grandfather shot Ralph Yarl for ringing his doorbell?
I was disgusted. I thought it was terrible. Myself and my family stand with Ralph Yarl and seeking justice. This is a horrible tragedy. It never should have happened.
Folks are going to want to know, why are you speaking out and apparently against your grandfather?
It's the right thing to do. This country happens over and over again where people get away with killing unarmed, innocent black people, and I would have had the same energy for any other case like I've had over and over again in this country, like I said. But so it's the right thing to do. People need to speak out and not make any excuses for this kind of behavior and this violence.
So you said for killing innocent black people. The prosecutor in this case has suggested that there was a racial component to it. Do you believe your grandfather is racist?
I believe he holds racist tendencies and beliefs.
Why do you say
that? He's just a stock American Christian male. It's older, that's just how they are. It's the conspiracies and weird random racist things that they say, and it doesn't make sense, but they're just scared.
Now, listen, you're generalizing a lot here about, you said older Christian white males, but what do you mean by that? What do you mean they're scared? Talk to me more, please.
It's just, I feel like a lot of people of that generation are caught up in this 24-hour news cycle of fear and paranoia perpetuated by some other news stations, and he was fully into that, sit and watch Fox News all day, every day, blaring in his living room. And I think that stuff really kind of reinforces this negative view of minority groups and leads people to be doesn't necessarily lead people to be racist, but it reinforces and galvanizes racist people and their beliefs.
Now, apparently, correct me if I'm wrong, Clint, you said that your grandfather would say or do things apparently that you did not subscribe to that caused you to distance yourself from him. Say and do things like what?
That's right. A lot of it was the kind of QAnon level conspiracies about election denying, and then they got really weird with some Fauci dogs. I really didn't know what that meant, but I would push back on some of this stuff, and he couldn't handle being pushed back on. And at a certain point, we kind of lost touch, and I think it was more of his choice than mine.
Wow. His own grandson.
Right. And brave young man to come out and, tell these hard truths about his family member. But I appreciate Don Lemon's, direct questions and getting him to elaborate what his grandfather was was like in reality, in day-to-day life.
All right, so in Sudan, diplomats and foreign nationals have evacuated. A growing list of countries have evacuated diplomats and citizens from Sudan's capital as fierce fighting continues to rage in Khartoum. The US and UK announced on Sunday they had flown diplomats out of the country. France, Germany, Italy, and Spain have also been evacuating diplomats and other nationals. A vicious power struggle between the regular army and a powerful paramilitary force has led to violence across Sudan for more than a week. U.S. authorities said they had airlifted fewer than 100 people with 3 Chinook helicopters on Sunday morning in a fast and clean operation. The U.S. Embassy in Khartoum is now closed, and a tweet on its official feed says it is not safe enough for the government to evacuate private U.S. citizens. The UK government managed to airlift British diplomats and their families out of the country in what was described as a complex and rapid operation. Foreign Minister James Cleverly said options to evacuate the remaining British nationals in Sudan were severely limited. More than 1,000 European Union citizens had been taken out of Sudan, according to an update from EU's foreign policy chief on Monday morning.
So wait a second. So they can get the British diplomats out, but they can't get the U.S. citizens out? Is that what I'm hearing you say?
Well, I don't know. That's I don't know
that's
if
what it
you're hearing
sounded
me
like.
saying, but I'm just saying according to the article, there's fewer than 100 people. So
fewer than 100 U.S.
citizens. Yeah.
Well, then it seems like they should be able to get them out first. But
I don't know the
hopefully they'll
logistics. Not there.
Make it home safely.
Yeah.
All right, we have a bit of an update from Martin Lawrence. Gives an update on Jamie Foxx's health. This was posted on April the 22nd. Martin Lawrence shared an update on Jamie Foxx's health following the actor, comedian, and singer's recent hospitalization. During Thursday's Hollywood Walk of Fame ceremony, the Martin actor revealed Foxx is recovering after suffering an undisclosed medical complication. Quote, "I hear Foxx is doing better. My prayers go out to him every night and just wish the best for him. One of the best that we got in Hollywood, not only one of the best entertainers, but a good person," end quote, Lawrence told Extra. On April 12th, Foxx's daughter Corinne took to Instagram to share the news of her father's hospitalization. When news broke of Foxx's health scare, Lawrence shared his support for the fellow funny man on Instagram, writing, quote, "My family and I are lifting you up in prayer. Much love and many blessings, my brother," end quote. So yes, still prayers up for Jamie Foxx. Like I said, that's the last update that I saw. But other than that, not a lot of information coming out. But the family did request privacy.
All right. Speaking of movies, Hollywood stuff, Netflix Black woman-led Queen Cleopatra docudrama sparks controversy. Netflix's upcoming docudrama series is already making headlines. Queen Cleopatra, from executive producer Jada Pinkett Smith, is the first season of a series set to highlight and center African queens in history, with Black actress Adele James portraying the iconic historical figure. The release of the trailer for the upcoming series has reignited these takes, with some, like the project's director Tina Garavi, depending this depiction. In contrast, others go as far as suing the streaming service. Netflix is facing a lawsuit regarding the docudrama series, per BBC. An Egyptian lawyer, Mahmoud Al-Samari, filed a complaint stating that the streamer uses the series to, quote, promote the Afrocentric thinking, which includes slogans and writings aimed at distorting and erasing the Egyptian identity, end quote. The complaint also demands that the public prosecutor block Netflix access in Egypt and take the necessary legal measures. Gavari spoke out against the backlash in an essay for Variety, detailing how she became involved in the project and when she realized, quote, what a political act, end quote, it was to cast a black actress as Cleopatra. She wrote about previous iterations of Cleopatra, played by Theda Bara, to Monica Bellucci, to the recent casting rumors regarding Cleopatra films set to star actors like Angelina Jolie and Gal Gadot. For me, the idea that people had gotten it so incredibly wrong before meant we had to get it even more right. The hunt was on to find the right performer to bring Cleopatra into the 21st century.
So if you were a betting man, do you think that this lawsuit will be successful?
Whew. No.
Okay. All right. Speaking of successful lawsuits, we've got an update on Jonathan Majors. Video witness prove I didn't strike ex-girlfriend. She went clubbing after the incident. Jonathan Majors says the man who was driving him and his now ex-girlfriend the night of their alleged domestic incident will testify the actor did not strike her, and he claims there's video proof she was not injured when she went out to a club after their altercation. Jonathan's attorney, Priya Chaudhary, filed docs Wednesday in Manhattan, informing the court the driver witnessed that what went down between Jonathan and the woman back in March. According to the docs obtained by TMZ, the driver saw the woman assault Majors around 1 a.m. on March 25th, quote, while she was attempting to steal his phone, end quote. Further, the Creed 3 star says the driver will testify he never struck the alleged victim, quote, in any way at any time or even raised his voice, end quote. Majors and his attorney also say the driver saw her, quote, hitting, scratching, and attacking, end quote, Jonathan, and that Jonathan asked the driver to stop the car so he could escape her attack, which he did. The woman allegedly told police she suffered a broken finger and a laceration behind her ear during the altercation. However, in the document, Chaudhary says they have proof that's a, quote, complete lie, end quote. In the video, they say that she casually pushes her hair behind her right ear, reaches into her bag several times, sorts through credit cards, handles phones, holds a menu, and easily holds a glass of champagne. They say that she's seen partying pretty hard, throwing back shots and champagne with friends without any visible sign of injury. So surprise, surprise, the white lady lies.
There you go. I actually went to Freaknik, and some people should be scared about this documentary. This is an opinion piece that was written at the Grill. I've been to my share of cookouts and parades and big parties, but this was different. Men were grabbing women by the hand, the arm, the leg. They were touching the butts of women they did not know. It felt like I was in the middle of something insane. It would not have surprised me if everyone around me suddenly started doing the you know what. Let's see. It looks like Killer Mike had a quote about Freaknik. We were doing all that wild stuff, all that country wild stuff. We were freaking girls while we were out. I mean, just wild dancing. It was an unorganized Mardi Gras of sorts, and it was all about showing your car, girls showing their bodies, and dudes showing their goals. According to the site Decider, there's no official release date or trailer. I know rumors were going around that maybe 2024. There might be some, I don't know, possible release dates around 2024, but as far as I'm aware, nothing has been set officially for a release date.
During your research for this story, did you see at all where they amassed the footage? Because I mean, it seems like the footage would have to come from a variety of different places. Any idea where they got their hands on this footage?
Yeah, I have
many
no
years
idea.
later?
I have no idea. I mean, I think as far as what I looked at, I know the executive producers, at least one of them is Luke, what's his name? Skywalker from 2 Live Crew.
Mm-hmm.
And then, what is that producer's name? I can't remember his name off the top of my head. He was big in the 80s and 90s. I just had it, just went away. So anyway, so there's probably like 2 known, at least people within the music industry that are involved with. So I don't know where they sourced the video stuff. I mean, it could have been from who knows, the producers themselves. But
so in your opinion, I mean, this is fair use, public footage, or
yeah, pretty much. I mean, if you're out in the public.
All right, well, there it is. Okay, rapper Pras Michael took $100 million due Joho Lo bidding to do Joho Lo bidding, U.S. says. All right, Pras Michael, a Grammy-winning rapper who reinvented himself as political influencer, was paid $100 million to try to end U.S. probes of Malaysian tycoon Joho Lo and to aid the Chinese government in seeking the U.S. extradition of a billionaire dissident, a prosecutor told jurors. Michael, 50, was central in a plot to convince President Donald Trump's administration to end a probe of Lo's alleged embezzlement of billions of dollars from the Malaysian Development Fund, 1MDB. Prosecutor Sean Mullering argued Thursday. At the time, Michael was an agent of China in seeking extradition of Hu Wenyu, Mullering said. Quote, "This case is about foreign influence. It's about foreign money. It's about greed," end quote, Mullering said in closing arguments that followed 4 weeks of testimony at Michael's illegal lobbying trail in Washington federal court. Michael, a member of the Fugees hip-hop group, is accused of failing to notify the U.S. about his back-channel lobbying for Lo. Of the $100 million Lo paid for that lobbying, Michael kept more than $70 million, prosecutors said. Prosecutors also charged Michael with funneling $2 million of Lo's money in the 2012 campaign of President Barack Obama through straw donors the rapper refunded, and of tampering with witnesses. For those efforts, Michael pocketed at least $18 million, according to the U.S.
So somebody was getting paid.
He was getting paid to play.
Well, speaking of someone who may not actually be getting paid or receiving a future paycheck, Tucker Carlson is leaving Fox News Network, announces. Fox News Media and Tucker Carlson have decided to part ways. The network announced in a statement Monday a seismic shakeup in the cable news world, given Carlson's status as the network's most watched anchor. Carlson's final broadcast of Tucker Carlson Tonight aired last Friday. The show Fox News Tonight is set to air as an interim show led by rotating hosts until its successor in the 8 p.m. time slot is named. Fox said, quote, Fox News Media and Tucker Carlson have agreed to part ways. We thank him for his service to the network as a host and prior to that, a contributor, quote, end quote. Fox News said in a statement. Carlson joined Fox News as a contributor in 2009 and served as a co-host of Fox and Friends Weekend from 2012 to 2016. High Epiness nightly show debuted in November 2016. He moved into the 8 p.m. slot in April 2017. News of Carlson's departure from Fox News comes days after the network reached a $787.5 million settlement with Dominion Voting Systems. The voting technology company filed a lawsuit against the cable news giant in March 2021, accusing it of knowingly airing false statements claiming Dominion helped to rig the 2020 presidential election against former President Donald Trump. The company specified 20 broadcasts that it said were defamatory, including a January 26, 2021 episode of Carlson's show featuring My Pillow founder Mike Lindell.
A lot of money exchanging hands in these nefarious dealings in the news.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so Tucker Carlson, no loss there. He's probably one of the ones that drove that guy's granddaddy into his racist fury. Black Twitter, speaking about fury, Black Twitter goes in on Dr. Phil after he says reparations would be an, quote, absolute disaster, end quote. Dr. Phil found himself on fans' bad side after he said providing the Black community with cash reparations for slavery would be a, quote, absolute disaster, end quote, earlier this week. According to the Atlanta Black Star, the TV star shared his hot take on Dr. Phil. He weighed in on the matter after Duke University professor William A. Darity Jr. said every Black descendant of slavery should receive $350,000. Darity said 40 million Black Americans have family ties to enslaved people, which means the U.S. would have to come up with $14 trillion to fund a reparations effort appropriately. Darity, who co-authored From Here to Equality, Reparations for Black Americans in the 21st Century, explained the payout would help start closing the wealth gap between Black and white people, which he said is about $840,000. Dr. Phil shared he thinks giving any American that amount of money would be irresponsible and do more harm than good. I can tell you from a psychological perspective that if you take $350,000 or $840,000 and you write a check to any group of people, Black, white, poor, homeless, whatever, you give any group of people that much money and say, quote, there you go, best of luck. You come back in 6 months and they're going to be broke, end quote, he said. Quote, whatever reparations are done, that would be an absolute disaster as opposed to guidance and help in creating generational wealth as opposed to income, end quote. And then we have some Twitter users that they were quoted in the article. One here from Naz Escobar 316. Quote, Dr. Phil is a F *** K-I-N-G, idiot. Cash reparations are owed and I don't give a F *** K what anyone thinks about it. The law is the law. Crimes against humanity never expire. Wage theft is illegal. Black Americans are owed what was taken from us. F *** K. All this talk. Hashtag cut the check. One user wrote. And I believe we have a video, not of Dr. Phil, but of one of the guests a civil rights, I guess, person. I don't want to say expert. I mean, I never even heard of this guy, but he's up there talking for the Black community. So let's take a listen.
If you dissect it, you will find there were about 3,700 free blacks who owned 12,000 slaves, black slaves. The question is, do the descendants of those free blacks who owned black slaves, do they pay? Blacks really benefited more the first 100 years after slavery we have in the last 50 years. I was born in 1937 during the Depression. Everyone in my small, low-income black community, 98% of the households had a man and a woman raising children. Elderly people could walk safely in that community without fear of being assaulted by their grandchildren. Never heard a gunfire during that time. Never heard of a child being shot to death in the crib. But there are 50 children today who have been shot and killed in our cities. If you're talking about remedies, we've got to look beyond saying that every solution has to have a winner and a loser, that blacks can only benefit if whites lose. We have to be defined more than just victims of oppression.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, that's the whole argument in the garbage. But I mean, who said whites have to be losers? Why is black uplift and come up have anything to do with white? I mean, that doesn't even make any sense.
Yeah, that makes no sense at all. And it's really trying to repair something that happened to a specific group of people during, a specific group of time. And then now those descendants are still suffering because
still suffering and still owed a debt. And he's talking about we were doing better after slavery. Well, of course, we had, the Freedmen's Bureau that was put in place during that time, and we kind of had our own agency to build up our own communities and our own industries until all of that was plundered and destroyed, and integration was introduced. So yeah, we were doing better when we were, like I said, left to our own agency to build within our own communities. And the other thing he mentioned, because he was just, his own arguments, he was just giving a case for reparations, talking about the fatherless homes or the broken families. Well, a lot of that was due to the welfare system that was introduced and the policies that were put in place. So again, he is just giving arguments for reparations, but he thinks he's giving arguments against reparations.
Yeah, I don't know. Just talking crazy. Just talking. All right. Don Lemon says he has been fired from CNN. Don Lemon was terminated from his anchor role at CNN, he announced Monday. Let's see here. The news comes after Variety published a story early this month on allegations that he mistreated his female colleagues over the course of his career there. And earlier this year, he faced backlash over widely criticized comments he made on air. Lemon announced the news on Twitter, saying he was informed by his agent that he was being terminated. "I am stunned," quote, Lemon said, or Lemon wrote. After 17 years at CNN, I would have thought someone in management would have had the decency to tell me directly. In a tweet, CNN refuted Lemon's account as inaccurate. The network said he was offered a chance to meet with management, but instead released a statement on Twitter. CNN CEO Chris Litch said that the network and Lemon have parted ways, according to a memo provided to NBC News Monday. Quote, "Don will forever be a part of the CNN family, and we thank him for his contributions over the past 17 years, end quote. The statement said, "We wish him well and will be cheering him on in his future endeavors, end quote. So yeah, I wonder if Don Lemon and Tucker Carlson are actually gonna have a show together. Maybe they should do that on MSNBC or something.
Yeah, that would be some yin yang showmanship going on. But yeah, I mean, with Don Lemon, I mean, and this is just my personal opinion, I just think that he was just being too much of a Negro sympathizer, raising too many black issues. They're like, you know what, we don't hire this you immigrant class for that. You're supposed to side with white supremacy. You gotta go. They always break their tools. All right, speaking of a tool, Ohio Senate candidate Bernie Moreno floats reparations for white descendants of Northern Civil War soldiers. Bernie Moreno, a Republican looking to challenge U.S. Sen. Sherrod Brown, suggests the white descendants of Northern Civil War soldiers should be eligible for some form of compensation. Quote, "We stand at the shoulders of giants, don't we? Question mark. We stand on shoulders of people like John Adams, James Madison, Alexander Hamilton, George Washington. This group of people took on the largest empire in history. They said, no, we will not stand for this, and won." Quote, or is that an end quote? Anyways, Moreno told supporters at a campaign event in the Buckeye State this week, quote, "That same group of people later, white people, died for free to free black people. It's never happened in human history before, but it happened here in America. That's not taught in a lot of schools, is it?" He added. You name a country, quote, "They make it sound like America is a racist, broken country. You name a country that did that freed slaves, died to do that. You know, they talk about reparations. Where are the reparations for the people in the North who died to save the lives of black people?" End quote. No comment.
I don't even know. That's just ridiculous.
Next.
Clippers star Kawhi Leonard's sister sentenced for Temecula murder. One of two women sentenced to life in prison Friday for the murder of an octogenarian in the bathroom at the Pachanga Resort Casino in Temecula was the sister of star forward Kawhi Leonard, it was reported Saturday. Candace Ty Townsell, 42, and Kamisha Monet Williams, 39, both of Moreno Valley, were convicted in February of the 2019 slaying of 84-year-old Afaf Anis Assad of Long Beach. Williams is Leonard's sister, the press Enterprise, first reported. Both women were sentenced to life in prison without parole after a jury deliberated for just 2 hours before convicted the duo for guilty of first-degree murder, robbery, and elder abuse, as well as finding true a special circumstance allegation of killing during the course of a robbery, with sentence enhancing great bodily injury allegations. According to court papers, after Townsell and Williams followed the victim into a bathroom, as Assad left her stall and headed toward a sink, the defendants pounced on her. One ripped her pink purse from her grasp with such force as to leave a severe bruise on her left arm, and the other knocked the senior to the bathroom floor, where the back of her head impacted with a kind of severity comparable to a motor vehicle accident or an unprotected fall from standing height, according to the brief. The witness in the stall heard the commotion and what sounded like vomiting or throwing up, followed by a loud thud, court paper stated. The victim was taken to Inland Valley Medical Center in Wildemar, where she died 3 days later, never having regained consciousness. She had suffered a brain hemorrhage, prosecutors said. The defendants gained from the robbery was between $800 and $1,200, investigators said.
What a horrible story.
Yeah, that's tragic and that's terrible.
May she rest in peace.
Rest in peace.
Moneymakers. Gervonta Davis versus Ryan Garcia fight purse. How much will each man be paid for a big Vegas fight that already happened? That was a big fight. I believe that happened this weekend. One of the biggest fights of the year, Davis versus Ryan Garcia, finally gets underway this weekend. Both Davis and Garcia will put their reputation on the line to face off in a huge clash that will see the winner shoot into superstardom. The loser, however, will be left to lick their wounds over what could have been. One thing which is guaranteed, however, is that both men stand to make some serious cash for their Las Vegas bonanza. But just how much will Davis and Garcia, both stars in their own right, make this weekend? How much will Davis and Garcia make? It's not exactly known how much both men will be paid just yet, but according to the sporting payout, Davis will be paid at least a purse of $5 million, and that's before pay-per-view and ticket sales are counted up. Garcia will make around $2.5 million, according to Sportsopedia. Davis and Garcia have agreed to split the revenue from the PPV and ticket sales right down the middle, however. At $85 a PPV buy, 1 million buys could see the final pot amount to $85 million, which Davis and Garcia would split. They could also earn anywhere between $15 million and $20 million on ticket sales. Both fighters could walk away with over $50 million each. But now there's even more at stake after the pair decided to wage their fight money after clashing on Instagram live video. I think we have a clip of that Instagram live video. Can we roll it?
All right.
I for sure gotta get one of those, man. I don't know. Damn.
Yo, you're done. Yo, you want to bet?
Yeah, let's do it. I'm down.
The whole
let's
purse.
do it. The whole purse.
Yeah, you hear that? That's a bet.
Yes, let's bet. You hear me on the live? Let's bet.
So everything
for sure.
that you. No, you
I know. Let's go. Let's make a contract. Let's sign it, both of us. Let's do it.
Okay, and if you don't,
you really want it,
call him up. We getting paid. We getting paid.
All right, and we have a video of what happened after the fight.
You're gonna keep Ryan to his word about the bet that you guys have placed on the Instagram live. Are you still gonna keep it to the book, or are you just gonna let that slide?
Huh?
The bet that you guys had placed, are you gonna keep that money in the bag like you guys said?
Nah, he can take the money. He can take the money. He can take it.
All right, so
that's nice of him.
If the shoe had been on the other foot,
I'd have been like, nah, I'm getting that money.
But my money.
Nice,
we've been, as a people, been too forgiving on these debts that are owed. And one thing I'll say is they betted on the purse, and what I read in the articles, the purse was for Garcia would have been about $2.5 million. He still stands to make almost $50 million in ticket sales and the PPV. So, I mean, the $2.5 million that he owes Tank would have just been a drop in the bucket anyway. So get your money.
Yeah, obviously, just to clarify and confirm, Davis did win. So.
Yes, he annihilated. Is what happened, is why they were asking if he was going to hold Garcia accountable to the bet, which I think he should have. I mean, I think it just cheapens the the whole vetting institution if people don't have to keep their word. But I mean, if he wants to absolve him of his accountability, that's on him. But I would have got my money.
Yeah. Phil Jackson says he can't stand basketball catering to racial justice protests. Legendary former NBA coach Phil Jackson says he stopped watching professional basketball in 2020 because he couldn't stand the protests by players for racial justice. In a podcast interview with Rick Rubin, Jackson claimed the NBA had done something, quote, wanky, end quote, when it decided to paint Black Lives Matter on the courts at its quarantine bubble in Orlando and allow players to put social justice slogans on the backs of their jerseys. This was apparently too much for the man who led the Chicago Bulls to 6 championships in the 1990s, who claimed people want to see sports as non-political. Politics, stay out of the game. It doesn't need to be there. He said he couldn't watch it anymore after that, accusing the NBA of catering to a certain audience. As one can imagine, his remarks set off a firestorm of gifs on Twitter, with users using everything from Interstellar, let me get that right, Interstellar to The Sopranos to mock Jackson's reaction to seeing the league support Black people. Other users pointed to a history of problematic remarks from Jackson, including calling LeBron James' business partners his, quote, posse, end quote, in 2016.
Yeah, it sounds like a personal problem for this Phil Jackson guy, that he probably should just get over himself.
Yeah.
All right, in other news, over 350 attend first in-person Reparations Advisory Commission event. This was posted on 4/22. Los Angeles, the city 7-member Reparations Advisory Commission hosted its first in-person event today at the California African American Museum, welcoming 375 in-person attendees and streaming to many more on YouTube. The commission, which is part of the Civil, Human Rights, and Equity Department, LA Civil Rights Department, was created by leaders in 2021. Quote, the Reparations Advisory Commission was created to meaningfully address a legacy of racism that has held African Americans back, end quote, said Council President Pro Tem Curran Price. Quote, moving forward as one city means recognizing this inequity in our city and taking real steps to rectify it. I am proud to have played a role in shaping this commission and grateful to the many people who joined us today, end quote. The 2-hour meeting included welcome remarks from Council President Pro Tem Curran Price, Councilmember Hugo Soto Martinez, and Councilmember Marquise Harris Dawson. Following a 45-minute public comment period, commissioners shared the timeline for reparations proposals in Los Angeles, including an academic and participatory study and fund development. A final proposal is expected to be transmitted to City Council and the Mayor by early 2025. California State University Northridge College of Social and Behavioral Sciences was announced as the academic researcher to conduct the study of harms experienced by Black residents in the history of Los Angeles. So it looks like they are moving towards repair in the city of LA. Believe we have a video of this of one of the speakers that gave testimony, CJEC's very own Queen of LA. Let's roll the tape.
We work with Mayor Garcetti to set this position up. We work with Secretary Weber to set the stage. So this is the result of our activism because we are convinced that this country owes the descendants of U.S. slavery a debt. So I want to thank Mayor Garcetti and Mayor Dax for recognizing the importance of dealing with this subject. It's been 400 years. We started in 2019, the 400th year. And so I want to say in terms of eligibility, it has to be descendants of U.S. slavery. It cannot be anybody else. Please ensure that the African Americans descended from U.S. slavery are the sole beneficiaries. We built this country. Nobody else. We follow every door. We are nobody. Period.
There you go. So Tiffany Quarles, who her handle on Twitter is Queen of LA. If you wanted to follow her, lots of updates on, California reparations. But I mean, just like she said, I mean, this needs to be lineage based. California reparations has already set the standard for that. So yeah, Paparetta did cut the check.
Cut the check. Definitely.
So I think that's about it for our roundup for this week. Subscribe to ETM Media YouTube channel for more updates as we keep you updated on what's going on in the news.
Absolutely. Peace and reparations. And that is in the news. And until next time.